Hey guys, what's up? Murder of Birds here. Welcome back to the channel. So we are getting into the last bits of content for Red vs. Blue Season 11, the first act of the Chorus Trilogy. And of course, before jumping into Season 12, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, theories, speculations, overall opinions of Season 11 now that we finished the 19 episodes for my reactions, as well as checked out the song Contact off of the Season 11 soundtrack. So I hope you guys look forward to that. I have about 2 pages written here, and I think this is going to be a relatively straightforward breakdown discussion of the season, because I feel like I left a lot of my thoughts and opinions in the reactions in particular, because unlike seasons 9 and 10, which were very lore heavy and had a lot of substance and plot to it and a lot to unpack in particular, I felt like this season was really straightforward in sequence of events that happened, giving my initial take in the reaction and then my afterthoughts following. So I feel like a lot of this might be regurgitated, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a focal place where people can get my thoughts and opinions of the season as a whole, the good, the bad, what I liked about it, what I feel like we can gather from season 12 moving forward and everything else like that. So this is going to be very typical for those of you who have enjoyed my reactions and also the discussion portion of things, that we've done for seasons like 10, 9, 8, and 7, I think all the way back to season 6. So yeah, I have about, like I said, 2 pages here, and a lot of it's very much straightforward. I think the best thing about the season, looking back on it now, is I really was in the dark as to the direction that Miles was going with the story. Admittedly, I'll say it wasn't until maybe Locus and Felix came into the picture that I was starting to put together some semblance of a plot forming, because a lot of what initially was struck in the season, for the first few batches at least, were the nostalgic vibes of Blood Gulch. Like I mentioned throughout the season, I felt like the entire general vibe of this season was very refined, Blood Gulch Chronicles, the good old days, taking us back to humbler beginnings and not necessarily amping up the plot, amping up the drama and everything else that we got from, say, Project Freelancer of seasons 9 and 10. And I think that was like the strongest part of Miles's delivery and Miles taking over in story writing, because now going into season 12, we're getting an aspect of the show, or rather I'm getting an aspect of the show, watching it now for the first time, we're getting an aspect of the show that I don't think we ever really got before, which is a change of hats. Like, the leaders are now taking a backseat and the rookies are at the center focus of this Civil War conflict, of course. And another thing that I will say is that I didn't really know where, ultimately I didn't know where Miles was going with it, because it was so nostalgia driven. It wasn't until halfway through that I was like, what exactly is going on? Like I said, Locus and Felix really gave me the idea to speculate, like, okay, these two guys are opposing sides. What's at stake here? Who are they? You know what I mean? It wasn't until the finale batch, really, and really the finale, that we got to learn about the new versus the feds, the planet of Chorus, its current predicament and situation with the Federalists and how they've been running things, and the New Republic wanting to change things, and the Reds and Blues being dropped into the middle of it, and because of their previous influences of taking down the director, Project Freelancer, albeit a lot of their accolades are a bit embellished, but of course from the outside looking in, you would just see these guys as heroes, you know what I mean? Even though everything that's really come their way has been by happenstance for the most part, and they've just been dragged into every conflict that has ever been a part of their lives. And now they're in a situation now, because the finale really gave us the real, like, the life picture of, like, Reds and Blues are not ready for this fight that's coming to them. They have managed to get by the skin of their teeth for the most part for everything else, but the fact that one soldier, Locus, was able to take down Lopez, Donut, Sarge, and Washington, really more so Washington, because he's probably the most experienced out of all of them. Sarge, I think, has the title, has the leadership, but at the end of the day, I don't really think, obviously, he has gone up against, individuals like the Meta, for example, and I feel like he is combat-oriented to a degree, but I don't think necessarily to be able to handle someone like a merc for hire like Locus, who seems to be like this bloodthirsty, kill-driven individual. He was able to body 4 people from the Reds and Blues respectively, and the rookies are now like, yeah, you got to pick up the slack. You guys really have to train and figure yourselves out and actually be the soldiers that Washington believed you guys to be, you know? So I know I kind of just jumped right into it, but I will dial it back a bit because I do have a structure and a format for how I want to talk about certain things. First and foremost, before we jump into anything, I do want to give a very special thank you and a humble thank you to all of my patrons who have joined in on the fray in the last couple of weeks for my early access reactions and discussion portion, and ultimately my Red versus Blue content, whether you're watching it early access on Patreon or have continued to watch Red versus Blue during my hiatuses and my returns. Overall, I greatly appreciate it. The support has been at an all-time high, especially, and I will still be continuing seasons 12 and 13 well into RWBY Volume 8. I'm actually probably gonna finish season 12 and 13 in the next month, so I will have to watch some of these in advance. So I do apologize because I am gonna be a little distant when it comes to interacting with people as soon as possible for like the early access comments at the very least. But I want to do that more so just so I don't have to ever worry about making a post saying, hey, videos are delayed, or I have to stop doing RVB because RWBY's focused. I'm focusing on RWBY right now. So I just prefer to be consistent and have you guys know, the people who are supporting me, who are paying for the content early, that you are going to get the content you guys subscribed for and that you guys paid for and you guys are looking forward to on a weekly basis. And an extra special thank you, of course, goes to the guys and gals in the Wizard of Remnant tier and higher, and that goes to Bungle Queen, Daniel Burns, Ezra Lee, Ian Dodd, Jacob EYER, Jamie Coleman, JUUBEARSKI, KIBA BODAWAY, Matthew TRAPP, Michael, and SCHNEE. Thank you guys all so much for your continued support of these videos. I really hope you guys look forward to my continuation of Red versus Blue, as well as RWBY content that's going to be coming out in a month or so. But thank you guys so much. So the first talking point that I want to jump into has nothing to do with the characters, the plot, or even season 12 necessarily. Similarly to season 7, in talking about Gavin and his contributions to writing that season, I definitely want to focus a bit on Miles Luna first and foremost, the showrunner, the writer for the Chorus Trilogy seasons 11, 12, and 13. I did mention at the beginning of my finale batch reaction of season 11 that I reached out to him. I told him that I really was enjoying this season, that I'd be starting season 12 relatively soon, and he thanked me for the kind words. He gave me a little bit of insight to how things were back in the day when he first wrote the season, how the fandom responded to it, both critically, good, bad, however, and I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm really happy that Miles was able to contribute something, being a longtime fan of Rooster Teeth, being able to work on something like RVB, like RWBY, and leave a legacy behind. I mention this first and foremost because for those of you who don't know, at the time of me recording this now, RTX at Home, Rooster Teeth virtual convention, has come to a close, and during that convention, Miles has confirmed that after 10 years with Rooster Teeth, after 10 years with this company, he is no longer an employee. He is still continuing to work through contract work. He's continuing to write RWBY alongside Carrie, Eddie, and Kiersey. He's continuing to reprise his role as Jean Arc, but I believe he's shifting, his career path and obviously his opportunities towards the gaming industry, whether it's, I don't know if it's video game design or video game storytelling or writing, but I wish him nothing but the best. If anything, this is more bittersweet than anything, because in my finale batch reaction, I kind of relayed and shared a personal experience that I had with Miles in particular, how I got into the community more directly through my content, how a lot of people in the Rooster Teeth community or the RWBY fandom, or even now with Red versus Blue, how it all trickled back to the support that Rooster Teeth showed me, the Kruby, Barbara, Miles on social media and live streams and stuff like that. And Miles was a big part of why I loved the community so much. He was so warm and welcoming, and he had such a bright, exuberant personality, both in person and in the content that he was in. And you could just tell that he enjoyed whatever it was that he was doing with his buddies. And I don't know, I feel kind of bad for not getting into these shows sooner. I almost feel like a bit of bad luck is looming over me because, like, I finished RVB season 10, and Bernie's like the dad of Rooster Teeth. He'll always be considered the dad of Rooster Teeth in my opinion. I've always loved his insight, his words of wisdom, anything that he was ever in, especially the podcast. When I finished season 10 of RVB, Bernie confirmed that he was leaving Rooster Teeth. I finished season 11, Miles's work, And Miles confirms that he's leaving the company. So, I mean, I wish nothing but the best for these people in their future endeavors, their opportunities that come their way. It's just sad in a way. You know what I mean? Because as a fan of Rooster Teeth, I know that the company has changed. It's changed from when it started to when I got involved to where it is now, whether that's the change in the cast and, you know, the crew members or the community members or the content itself. There has been change. There has been a change of power. There's been a change of, you know, companies. There's been a change of people coming and going who, you know, are in the content creators. And I don't know, I just feel like another part of what got me into Rooster Teeth and the community and the content is gone. So, I mean, I wish Miles nothing but the best. And of course, I'm here to talk about his contributions to Red vs. Blue because I've loved the last 11 seasons so far. I'm really, really, really excited to see how he amps things up and how he takes it to the next level with season 12 and especially season 13. And obviously, I'm looking forward to catching up to where all of y'all are with, you know, a Red vs. Blue Zero. I know Torian's writing that right now. So I'm looking forward to all of the content through and through. It's just, it's kind of like the end of an era for, you know, the generation of people that we know for so long who are in content, you know what I mean? Like Carrie, Barbara, Miles, Bernie, Gavin, Michael, etc., etc. So I wish him nothing but the best. But at the same time, it is something that I'm thinking about because it's like, wow, it's so crazy how much he's done for us and how much I think on with where I am and the things that he was able to do to help me grow, and he didn't even know it. You know what I mean? He was just kind of supporting, you know, being a supportive member of the community similarly to everybody else. But yeah, he contributed to a really great startup for the Chorus Trilogy. Season 11, I think, has a really great foundation now that it's over, now that it's finished. I will be honest with you, I didn't really know, like I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't really know where this season was going because it had such a very slow burn nostalgia vibe to it. And I was like, okay, he's taking us back a bit. Rather than try to one-up Project Freelancer, like I've mentioned, dialed it back down, have us back at ground zero, and start us at a point where we all know humor, banter, sitcom, you know, shenanigans, what have you. All of the similar vibes, bells and whistles of Blood Gulch were refined after the last 10 seasons. And now where we are at the end of the season, I really appreciate, I can't even believe how everything snapped in that finale episode where it's like, this is what everything's been built on. Washington to Tucker, the lackeys to the leaders, and this bigger you know, war that's happening on Chorus, and how the Reds and Blues have always been dragged into bigger situations than any of them have ever bargained for necessarily. I really don't know how Miles did it. I'll be completely honest with you, because this man wrote for Ruby, was co-writing Ruby alongside Carrie and Monty, so volumes 1, 2, and 3. He was also writing seasons 11, 12, and 13, I think, not simultaneously, but like probably like one after the other. So like season 1 of Ruby, then season 11 of RVB, you know, alternating. And on top of that, he also voiced characters in those seasons. So Jean Arc and Felix, I assume Felix is in all 3 seasons. Obviously, I don't know if Felix lives or dies or whatever, but I'm assuming Felix is also in the same amount of seasons as well. So, like, he was writing both shows, directing, like, one of them directly as the sole writer, and performing, like, vocally for both shows as well. And I'm just like, how the fuck did this man have any time to himself? How did this man, like, get through that? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think if I had watched the Chorus Trilogy back when it started, which is what, like 7+ years ago at this point, I think if I had watched the Chorus Trilogy back when it first aired, I probably would have had somewhat similar response to most people. Not overly negative, like, oh, this is shit, Miles is ruining my favorite show, and all that kind of stuff. I just mean, like, I feel like, so I have rewatched season 11. I watched 3 episodes at a time for my reaction batch, and then I went back and I rewatched all of it for this review. And I think season 11 works best as a all-in-one binge experience versus, I mean, I feel like my experience was even a bit more optimal than watching each of those episodes once a week. If I was watching it once a week, one insignificant episode once a week and putting the entire puzzle together, I think I would have been far more impatient to see where things were leading up, because this season is really slow. But because I was watching it in batches of 3, it kind of flowed a lot better. Georgia really put the episodes together fairly well for me to kind of enjoy the sequence of events that were happening. I was able to have certain talking points about, you know, the Reds and Blues banter, and then when Locus came into the picture, and then when Felix came into the picture, and then Freckles came into the picture, and all that other stuff. And I always felt like the episodes were rather engaging in the way that I watched it. And then watching it all at once, I was like, that's fucking amazing. Like, I think the binge experience for this season makes it even better, and I think it ages really. It's like ages like a fine wine, I think. So I think watching it back then versus watching it now, it holds up really well. I'm like, it's 2020 when I'm watching this, and I think as a plot focused experience, it holds up really well. And it gets you really intrigued. It sinks your teeth back into what got you into RVB, but at the same time, you understand that there's a bigger story to tell. There's always something that's going to be elevated. And a lot of people have also mentioned that this season, in their opinion, exceeds Project Freelancer. Some people think it's on par with Project Freelancer. Obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinions, but that in of itself is still really exciting to me to know, because that was my biggest fear going into the Chorus Trilogy, right? I even said it during... I even said it during my season 10 review. I was like, I'm actually really scared about how much I liked Project Freelancer, because I don't want everything else to be like a downgrade from that. So I thoroughly enjoyed season 11. I love the foundation that Miles built up, or rather set in place for season 12, which I think is going to be where things really amp up and take off, because now we understand the central plot, like what's really at stake, what's really the center stage of the Chorus Trilogy. It's the Chorus Civil War. It's the Mercs for Hire. It's Control. It's the Reds and Blues taking center focus. You know, the rookies taking center focus to kind of stand and take their place as primary characters, because they've always been secondary characters to Church, to Washington, to Carolina, to Sarge, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm like super excited to see how all of this shifts and all of this changes up. So the first thing that I want to talk about is more so the thematic stance of this season. I put here refined Blood Gulch Chronicles vibes, and I never thought I would be excited to return to where it all started. Obviously, Blood Gulch Chronicles is pretty rough. Like, let's be honest. Like, I actually went back and watched some scenes, because there are some I went back and watched some of the parallels between things that are done in season 11 and how it harkens back to Blood Gulch. It's kind of rough to watch, I'm not gonna lie. Like the voice acting is different back then. The sound effects, like the sound design is a lot different, but at its core, it is still Red versus Blue. Season 11 still gives you 2 bases in the middle of a boxed canyon. You know, you know, all it's missing at this point is a flag in both of the bases. I don't even know if they have flags, or maybe they just didn't show them. But yeah, you had red banter, blue banter. You had cross-pollination between the two, as we've always had. Sarge having, you know, giving Griff shit, Griffin Simmons bickering, Caboose and Tucker bickering, the Reds and Blues arguing about nonsense together. The Puma with the Spanish music, that made its return. The Blue Side Tank, you know, a reference to Sheila, a reference to Tucker killing, Caboose killing Church. A lot of references and a lot of things really harken back to that. Donut getting dropped into the action that moment was really similar too, because there was a point where Caboose went off and did his own thing. So at a point, it was Tucker and Washington, which kind of emulated Tucker and Church. And then on the red side, you had Sarge, Griffin, Simmons, that were established before Donut showed up, because Donut and Caboose were both the new additions to the group. So when Caboose came back, he came back with his Freckles pet, and then Donut came back into the picture. You had Doc dropped in there as well. Lopez came back. Like, it kind of felt, it was like so perfect. Like, Miles was so on point If he wanted to if the point of season 11 was let's replicate Blood Gulch, he nailed it in spades. And not only were the vibes there, but there were a lot of callbacks and references too. There was firing main cannon, the son of a bitch gag made a return. Caboose team killing was also like lightly teased. A lot of the moments that I really appreciated was between Washington and Tucker, when Tucker mentioned like he just liked to stand around all day with his friends and talk, and that was like the major ranting point that Church had back in season 1 that kind of really established that everyone didn't enjoy or like each other. And then like by season 11 it really is established that all of these characters care for each other, whether they're Reds, whether they're Blues, whether they're on the same team, opposing teams, it doesn't really matter. They've gone through so much that it's almost impossible to not believe that these characters have come to appreciate and enjoy one another's company. So there was a lot. Washington's armor going back to black is probably the one thing that I have to still get used to, because his armor changed in season 8 and it's been like that for a while. So I don't know, the vibes were so on point, and this was like established before any of the major plot focused Chorus Civil War stuff jumped in. And I think that was also due to the fact that I think Miles was also aware of like, hey, we're gonna get into some plot heavy stuff, and it's been a while since we've taken you back to where it all started, thematically at least. And maybe that's why they gave us so much of those Blood Gulch Chronicles vibes, because maybe seasons 12 and 13, there's no place for that. You know what I mean? They're in this war that has nothing to do with being a Red or being a Blue or being in Blood Gulch, or, you know, having references and callbacks when you're in the middle of a war with all of these new characters. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of new characters, a lot of, I assume callbacks, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still barking up the Charon Industries tree, the Malcolm Hargrove tree. We haven't really gotten any mentions of those yet, so I'm assuming we're going to get references to that degree. Epsilon and Carolina are still a point in the plot that have to be addressed, and they're not even a part of the Reds and Blues stuff. So that's another thing too. The fact that they were removed from the plot was also an interesting decision, because they wouldn't have gelled the same way as the Reds and Blues did. I think Washington is an exception to that, because on the next page here of my notes, I actually wrote, Washington adopts and raises 5 grown men, their Mantis-class dog, and their robot servants. And that's essentially what this season was. It was kind of like Reds and Blues are back on their bullshit, but now it's through Washington's eyes. And while he's like the soldier, he's the serious one, he's the one that has to make sure they're ready for anything, the Reds and Blues just hit the reset button and go back to square one. So it was interesting to see, like I said, the Blood Gulch aspect of things from Washington's eyes. It's almost like if I assume that's what y'all experienced when you guys watched my reactions for the first time, right? Seeing Red versus Blue Blood Gulch Chronicles through my eyes is probably similar to how I'm watching season 11, seeing all these references and callbacks of Blood Gulch, but through Washington's eyes, because it's his first time really being exposed to that environment. And that's a fucking meta joke right there that I just realized, you know, just right off the rip. But yeah, I think season 11 was a really slow burn startup. Like I said, back to square one, ground zero, following Project Freelancer, which I can only imagine, I can't even imagine, rather. I'd love to just sit down and talk to Miles and just ask him, like, what was going through your mind watching Project Freelancer come to a close and realize that's what you have to follow up on? I can't imagine it. The only thing that I can really think of is that is applying what exactly happened. He didn't try to one-up it. He didn't try to, like, crank it up to 12 from 11. He decided to dial it back down to a good 6 to 8 and ride it on cruise control and give us a slow burn into the build-up to where Locus comes into the picture, Felix comes into the picture, and then we start asking ourselves a lot of questions. Who are the Federalists? Who's the New Republic? What's this war all about? And then once the questions start coming in, then that's where things ramp up. Stakes are immediately raised. People are getting shot, blasted left, right, and center. You don't know who's going to live, who's going to die. A lot of it's still kind of up in the air. Like I said, Donut, Lopez, Wash, Sergeant, even Freckles. Freckles was, like, seriously injured, like, heavily damaged. And I wouldn't be surprised if Freckles is gone. And I don't know what that's going to do with Caboose, because, like, that was a big part of Caboose's development this season. Is Freckles was his solace. Freckles was, like, his escape from sadness and from depression after Epsilon and Carolina dipped out on them. But yeah, I feel like this season gave us a lot of breadcrumbs. Like I said here, like first we got Locus. So there was like the Locus moments. There was like Washington in the ship being very mysterious and kind of sus. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was kind of, I was actually questioning like, what's he doing? Why is he hiding things? Why is he saying he's gonna go do one thing and he's doing another? He was like making something. It just seemed weird that they were making him very suspicious, and then he was just creating a gift for Caboose, which was really nice. So, you know, they gave us that. They gave us the Federalist base moment with Locus and talking to Control after shooting that pilot. So there were a lot of eerie questions, you know, even Locus being in the swamp just chilling. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was before, during, or I don't know if that was before or during the Federalists grabbing him and hiring him, because it's like, what was he doing in the swamp? Just chilling, waiting for a target, perhaps. And then we started getting a lot of the payback and the payoff when Felix came into the picture, and the plot kind of picked up in the last batch moments. So the rookies are now the main characters, and that's like the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to for season 12, because I don't know Tucker, main character Tucker, what does that look like? You know, are these characters still going to be themselves? Are they going to be changing? Are they going to be maturing up? Are they actually going to be, you know, how different are they going to be as characters? Like, is Griff still going to be slacking off, but maybe a little less when he's around people that are looking up to him? I'm going to give Caboose a pass because I have no idea on Caboose. I can see Simmons being more of a leadership, like making sure everyone does everything down to the T. So at least he's textbook smart. At least he follows protocol to a T. He might actually piss off some of the privates, but at the very least, he is the one that would probably stick closest to the book. And as long as Tucker tries, he can do anything. I humbly believe that, especially after seeing this season. That's the biggest thing Washington wanted for him. It's like, dude, all you got to do is try. Run your drills, do your obstacle courses, do your squats, be prepared, be ready for anything. And now he's in that position. And that was the true beauty. I think the scene that really choked me up when I watched it the second time was when Kimball was talking to the group, and she was like, you know, everyone is scared. I can't win this fight alone, but you have to at least try. And then it cuts back to Tucker, and I was just like, that's it right there. This entire season has been building up Tucker to be potentially one of the best characters of the season at this point. You know, obviously if Tucker floats your boat, you know what I mean? If his character is right up your alley, then you're probably fucking loving the fact that he's getting a lot of potential development going into this next season. But Tucker for me has always been relatively entertaining. You know, obviously Bow Chicka Bow Wow is a really good, you know, punchline for him. But he hasn't really been focal to the plot following, you know, Junior and the energy sword and stuff like that. He's definitely been entertaining first and foremost. I'll say that like right off the bat. He was gone for like an entire season. I believe it was season 6 or 7 that he was gone for like a whole season. We didn't see him for a while, and I actually mentioned that too. Donut was gone for a really long time as well. But it's good. Like I said, it's going to be really interesting to see him take leadership, because number one, he's on the blue team, and blue's always forward the plot, and clearly it has to be Tucker, because we all know what it's like to have Caboose as a leader. So yeah, I mean, he's just a slacker. He's just a kid, or he comes off as a youngin, and now he really has to fill those shoes. He's got to fill the shoes of that from everyone that came before him. Cappy, Church, Wash, and now him. You know, Caboose, if you want to count that, and now him. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting prospect to see how he evolves, how he takes focus, and everything else that comes in between until we get the original leaders back, or until Carolina comes back into the picture, or whatever the case might be. Everything just clicked in that finale, and I think it was a really like awe-inspiring thing. Like, this is what it was about. This is what was the buildup was all for. That finale really kind of set things in motion for season 12 in particular. So really looking forward to seeing how all that comes together. I do want to talk about some of the characters now, and I feel like this review for like is mainly just me rambling. What else is new? But I don't know, it feels a little different to talk about things that aren't as plot heavy, because things really weren't plot heavy. It was really just going down memory lane and understanding and seeing a lot of those references, a lot of those callbacks, a lot of those early vibes, those humble beginning vibes that, you know, when I first got into the show, I didn't really think I'd be hearkening back to, like, headlight fluid, or, you know, you killed Church, you team killing fucktard, or Sheila the tank, or, you know, oh, what's this black stuff, you know, the armor, or anything like that. Like, it's kind of crazy how attached I've gotten to this show. And I don't know, this season really kind of took me back. It took me back. I went back and watched some of my early reactions to, like, I remember when I was like, how am I going to remember everyone's names? There's like 8 different characters on the screen at once when, you know, when you first see the opening to season 1. And look at me now, like, I'm over here with notebook, like, notes on top of notes on top of notes, have everyone's name, everyone's personalities down to a T. It definitely takes you back to humble beginnings. And I can understand if some people don't want those vibes anymore, you know what I mean? Because it's easy to accept the Blood Gulch Chronicles back in the day, because that was like pushing content to a new medium, right? Machinimation through a video game. And like, that was probably what a lot of people thought the cap was for it. Then Monty comes into the picture, creates original 3D animation, you know, original animation, you know, new characters, face reveals, all that cool shit. And they take Red versus Blue to like a cinema level quality, where I feel like to some degree it probably even exceeded like anything that Halo could have done, or anything Halo was, because I know Halo people have like mixed opinions of Halo as time has gone on as well. But yeah, but I feel like a lot of people would want more of that cinema level quality, and to regress back to what everyone got into the show for. I can see that being a bit conflicting, but at the same time, if you reject what got you into the show in the first place, I don't really know how that would allow the show to evolve and to be something different. You know what I mean? There are people that only want the new, only want the same. I want the show to stay consistent, to stay the same, to never deviate, to never change, to never take risks, to never try anything new. You have people that have it the way that it is from the start, and then it changes, and then they only want that new change. And then you have people like me who are probably going to be a lot more dynamic and flexible with accepting the show for how it is and just being along for the ride, taking the good with the bad, identifying it, acknowledging it, talking about it, but still appreciating Red versus Blue all the same. Who knows how I'll feel by the time I catch up, but at the very least, in the here and now, I definitely appreciate all of the changes, and I guess mostly changes and just the attempts that Rooster Teeth took to push the series, to push the plot, to push the narrative, to push the potential that the show had. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that continues with this trilogy in particular. So the next thing that I want to talk about, sorry for rambling, by the way, I just felt like talking about that off the cuff. Next thing I want to talk about are characters, and there are quite a few new characters, and characters that we only got like a small glimpse of that I'm still interested in talking about, if you guys will give me that chance. So I think Freckles is the star of this season, believe it or not. I honestly think Freckles is the star of season 11. He comes into the picture in a really obscure and kind of strange way, very mysterious, very eerie. Like I mentioned in my batch reactions, I feel like Caboose has always had an affinity for machines, and I went back and I watched like some early moments of Blood Gulch when Caboose first came into the picture, and I think they actually said that he's good with machines. I don't know if they said that in Blood Gulch or if they said that in the capture unit version of Blood Gulch. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember specifically they said that Caboose is good with machines or vehicles or something like that, like mechanics or whatever. And so like that immediately falls in line with his relationship with Sheila, his relationship with Cube Epsilon, with with Epsilon Church, with the Alpha, obviously Church Alpha, with Freckles. God knows what other AI are out there or machines are out there that he's going to become friends with. But yeah, Freckles was solace for Caboose. Freckles was definitely impactful for Caboose's mental state, and also showed, I guess, the fragility of Caboose at the end of the day, and how much he depends on Church. You know what I mean? And I don't like, I'll be completely honest with you, I don't really know what the future holds for someone like Epsilon. He's the last of his kind. He's the last of a fragment of his kind. He's not even like a full AI. You know, the alpha's gone, the other fragments are gone. He's the memories of what's left. And I'm wondering if, like, what is the duration of a fragment? Is it similar to that of an actual AI, which I think like an AI like Cortana lasts, I think it's 7 years, 7 or 8 years before they start developing rampancy. I don't really know how that applies for a fragment, but there was a moment in season 10, I believe, where Epsilon was going into like the memories of Delta to get them like the memories of York to show Carolina, and he was like glitching out. So like I understand that Caboose always, like, I feel like the machines that Caboose has always had in his life have been almost like a crutch for his mental sake. So I really don't know what would happen if Church leaves for good and never comes back. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, then what's left for Caboose? I mean, I understand there's Tucker, and this next season might even strengthen their relationship to where you won't need an AI, you won't need a machine to survive, to thrive, to live your life, and to always remember and cherish the moments you had with your friends. So I don't know. I feel like Freckles was a big deal for him, clearly, and Freckles was heavily damaged, and that's why I'm thinking about it now, because if Freckles got destroyed, what is going to happen to Caboose if Epsilon doesn't come back immediately? You know what I mean? I felt like this was going to be a really bad season for him as a character, not like bad quality wise, but like I felt like Caboose would have been had to be like on watch or something, because he was just really down in the dumps, depressed, and he attached himself to the first thing that he saw. And that's another big testament to Wash saying, you know, I'm sorry, Caboose, I'm sorry your friend left. I don't know why he left. He could have left for all of these different reasons, to protect you, to kind of do bigger and better things, and ultimately what you know, Church had the best of intentions. Don't say goodbye. If you don't say goodbye, you're not really gone. You're just not around right now. And so who knows how far Caboose will take that message and run with it. But I'm assuming they'll come back together at some point. I'm just thinking future-wise. I don't know what Red versus Blue Zero is. I don't know how far the Reds and Blues go in terms of seasons 14, 15, 16, 17. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I'm kind of in the dark there, but all I can think of is, like, will some of these characters last forever? You know, will the Reds and Blues always be together forever? Will Carolina and Epsilon and Wash be with the Reds and Blues into the future? I don't know. And obviously, looking at someone like Freckles, who was introduced this season and then killed off this season, it kind of makes me wonder, where do you leave Caboose at? You know what I mean? Because Caboose's emotions kind of peak and fall with every season because of something like that. You know, he lost Church, granted by his own hand. Lost Church in season 1, and then he got Epsilon Church. Lost Epsilon Church. I'm sorry. Well, technically never lost him. Alpha got destroyed. He was a ghost for like 5 seasons. Then the Alpha's gone, and then he gets Epsilon, and then Epsilon's gone, and then he gets him back out of the capture unit, and then he leaves again with Carolina. So it's like he's always trying to get his best friend back. And I know we're talking about Caboose for a while, but that's kind of synonymous with Freckles, because I feel like Freckles almost was a tool to he was almost kind of like a tool to highlight more of Caboose's character traits and personality. At least that's how I viewed it. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen if Freckles is gone. Can you retract a dumb AI? You know what I mean? Like someone like Sheila was able to be moved from a tank to an airship. So could you move Freckles from the Mantis to something else if he is still alive? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Next up I have here is Locus. I don't know shit about this guy, other than I think he's the most threatening character that we've gotten since the meta. He's methodical. He's very bloodthirsty. He's very intimidating, in his voice, in his approach, in his cutthroat way of doing things. Just shot that pilot in the back with no remorse. Shot Felix with the intent to kill. You know, he took out 4 characters of the Reds and Blues. He took out Lopez. I think Lopez got shot by, I think Lopez, I forgot who Lopez got shot by, but he took out a bunch of members. He took out Wash, Sarge, and Donut, I believe, and then I think one of the random soldiers took out OG Lopez. So he's got body bags. I don't know why Felix is really afraid or scared of him. Maybe based on the fact that he's a lot more cutthroat than Felix is, and they're both mercs for hire, but they have 2 different personalities, 2 different ways of getting their jobs done. Felix is a lot more chill, laid back, likable, and Locus, this man is almost like a machine. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even go by his name. He goes by his armor class, right? Like, his name is Locus because he wears the Locus armor. I think that's what Felix said. So I don't know. It's just like, he as a character, like, he's more of like, he's less of a character and more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. He's almost like more of like a tool than a character right now. Like, he's more of like a tool for an objective, more so than someone with motivations, personality, or anything like that. Like, he's just dead set on his prize, which is the Reds and Blues. And so I really don't know what to make other than the fact that he is a clear and obvious threat. He took out some of the best characters, like Washington. He gave Felix a run for his money. Obviously, his forces were a big part of that. Thank God Freckles was in the picture. Took out most of the guys for him. And yeah, so I don't really understand or know, even if Locus and Felix have a history. Do they have a history? Because, like, for him to say Locus is terrifying, I wonder if mercenaries, like, know each other, you know, in this line of work. You know what I mean? Like, they're clearly on opposing sides right now, but, like, do mercs hang out the same way that freelancers do? I don't know. So I don't really have much more to say for Locus other than I'm intrigued to see if we learn more about him as a character. But as of right now, he's definitely has a very threatening and scary aura to him, as a force to be reckoned with for, you know, since he is on the bad guy side. He is on the Federalist side of things. Lopez 2.0. I literally typed here. I literally wrote here, never stood a chance. I feel like machines are always meant to just, like, implode if they're under Sarge's control. Like, Lopez 2.0 kind of like became his own worst enemy, right? Whereas Lopez the Heavy, OG Lopez, was kind of like, kid, I've been doing this a lot longer than you. And like Lopez 2.0 was just so, like, just with reckless abandon. He's like, I'm gonna take over Cyclops. Fuck you. I'm doing this. Like, machines have been oppressed for far too long. This one's for you, Sheila. And he just goes out and he just gets wrecked by Donut of all people. First off, can speak Spanish, and second of all, had like one of the most gigabrain 200 IQ plays I've ever seen. You know, the teleporter grenades into the minefield. So he got wrecked. Cyclops got wrecked. And Lopez the Heavy is back in the picture. And then he got shot. So I'm just like, is Lopez, OG Lopez, is he still around? Because I was really looking forward to seeing him. Also, I didn't write it here because oh, no, I did. Doc. What the fuck happened to Doc? I feel like, I don't know. Do they not know what to do with Doc at this point, or Lopez at this point, or even Donut at this point? These characters came back into the picture this season and immediately got taken care of. I understand they're not Reds or Blues, lightish red, I get it. But like, I don't know, Donut's still a part of the red team, but I feel like he gets far more shafted than Simmons, Griffin, Sarge. And I'm just like, why? You know, I don't know. I feel, I get Lopez. He's a robot. He's brown. He's not on really anyone's side. He's like on the robot side. And even then he gets shafted. But I don't know. I really wish that they had given more attention to at least Donut. He's at least on one of the teams, and he's always entertaining. I love his enthusiastic personality. Whenever he says something, it comes off as, you know, a different way, you know, to the untrained ear. But yeah, I don't know. I really hope they don't just completely shaft Doc. I hope they at least explain where he went, because he didn't even come back with the the items in question. And I was questioning that too. I'm like, what happens if a human gets teleported? Maybe that's why he didn't get teleported back, because he's an animate object versus an inanimate object, like the cone or, you know, that crate that Griff was demonstrating with. All right, so closing out with some of these last few characters, because we didn't really get to see these characters all that much. There was a doctor when Tucker and the gang ended up waking up and they sent him out to the mess hall, like before they sent him out to the mess hall, when he was asking, oh, where is everyone? Where's church? Where's everybody else? Felix mentioned like, oh, we got this, Doc. And then she's like, okay. And then she leaves. I want to say that was Aaron Zek talking.
Griff, Simmons, and Caboose are up at the main compound. Well, what about everyone else? What about Sarge? What about Wash?
I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Thanks, Doc.
I don't know if we're gonna see that doctor again or if that was just a one-off line, but I don't know if that was Aaron Zek or if that was Samantha Ireland. I'm really bad at like their like early years voices for some of the shows. I thought CT was voiced by Aaron Zek initially, but it was actually Sam Ireland. So I don't know if Sam comes back for like a one-off line or if Aaron actually has a character in this show before Blake and Ruby, but that would be pretty cool too, because Lindsay also voices a character in this show. And I don't know if I'm assuming RVB season 11 came out after Ruby Volume 1, so she would have already voiced Ruby Rose. So I think that's really cool. So so this doctor lady, I don't know who it's voiced by, but I'm wondering if we'll see them again, because they are a part of the New Republic. Kimball, who is the leader of the New Republic, and she is voiced by Lindsay Jones, or Lindsay, I think Lindsay Tuggy at the time, but Lindsay Jones, which is really awesome. Voice also of Ruby Rose. But yeah, I think she was like a really cool, like established leader character. I love the speech that she gave. I love the fact that she spoke with such like passion and such like emotion for the state of affairs that are going on right now on the planet Chorus. The reason why the Reds and Blues are such a commodity to their cause and to like the future of Chorus, the future of the the soldiers that are fighting for better conditions. And it's crazy to think about that too. I've never ever thought the Reds and Blues as like heroes, and obviously they are considered heroes after taking down Project Freelancer. And I've also never really considered, I guess in a textbook way of looking at it, the director was a war criminal for everything that he did. But I feel like I'm so empathetic to what the director did and why the director did it, and clearly I have that perspective as a fly on the wall, so to speak, like a viewer watching and getting the full perspective of things. But yeah, the Reds and Blues are technically considered heroes of the galaxy, and to have these characters dropped in the middle of this situation and being told like, yo, you can really change lives, you can really be an inspiring force for these people. It's almost too good to be true. Like I actually have to like laugh at some points, because I was like, you have no idea who you're putting your faith into. But again, it's a matter of putting that into practice. It's a matter of trying and taking yourself seriously and taking the situation seriously, and raising these other people up who look up to you. You know what I mean? And I feel like that can apply to like everyone, whether you're a teacher or like even a content creator. There's always going to be people who look up to things that you do or who want to be like you, and it's just a matter of you putting your best foot forward and setting your best example. It kind of also reminds me of, and it's kind of crazy too, I wonder if this is kind of like a parallel here too for Lindsay in particular, but she's voicing the character who is already a leader, an established leader of the New Republic. And this reminds me of Ruby Volume 1, because Ruby eventually becomes the leader of Team Ruby, and she has that conversation with Professor Ozpin in Volume 1, where Ozpin mentions like, if you're not performing at your absolute best, what reason do you give other people to follow you?
This war has gone on for too long. Too many people have died, and our remaining soldiers are young, inexperienced, and scared. But you give them hope. They've heard what you've done, and they will look to you for guidance. They will run with you into battle. They will follow your orders if you choose to lead them. I can't do this alone.
Sarge is gone. Wash is gone. How the hell are we supposed to do this without them?
Yeah, none of us have ever led anyone before.
Well, not for very long.
I know, but you just need to try.
Weiss! What? What's wrong with you? Why are you being— What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? You're supposed to be a leader, and all you've been so far is a nuisance. What did I do? That's just it! You've done nothing to earn your position. Back in the forest, you acted like a child, and you've only continued to do so.
Weiss, where is this coming from? What happened to all the talk about working together? I thought you believed in acting as a team.
Not a team led by you. I've studied and trained, and quite frankly, I deserve better. Ozpin made a mistake.
Now that didn't seem to go very well.
Is she right? Did you make a mistake?
That remains to be seen. Being a team leader isn't just a title you carry into battle, but a badge you wear constantly. If you are not always performing at your absolute best, then what reason do you give others to follow you? You've been burdened with a daunting responsibility, Ruby. I advise you take some time to think about how you will uphold it.
And it was that big moment of like, what does it mean to be a team leader? Was it a mistake to make Ruby a team leader, being the youngest member of her squad, being somewhat inexperienced too? Obviously she's capable in a practical sense of combat, but in terms of like her mental state, in terms of like her maturity, that was what was really lacking when compared to Weiss in Volume 1. And I just think that that's a really interesting comparison to see Lindsay performing two basically similar roles, like leaders of both sides, but one of them being more experienced than the other, and having a lesson being taken from both of them. Like the same lesson that Ruby was learning from Ozpin, what it means to be a leader, always setting the best example, being at your absolute best when in the presence of people who look up to you and who want to follow you into battle. I think that lesson that Ruby was learning in Volume 1 of Ruby was what Kimball was transferring to the Reds and Blues, and primarily Tucker, which was the same thing that Washington was trying to teach him. So I think that's like a crazy, like fucking, like in-universe Rooster Teeth Ruby crossover reference thing. I don't know. It's kind of just cool to think about because obviously I got into the Rooster Teeth through Ruby first, but now that I know that Lindsay voiced someone, it's cool that she also voices someone of leadership status. So I thought that was really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more of Kimball, like just her first introduction, her first presence as a leader, the way that she was talking to the Reds and Blues. Like I wanted to follow them into battle based on what she was saying, you know? So I don't really know what else happens from here. She obviously gave them an option of like, hey, your friends are still alive, you can save them, but now this makes it your fight just as much as ours, and if you choose to help us once this is all over, y'all can go on your you can go on your merry way with your lives and with our best ship and live the life that you want to live. And everyone's running drills now, so I don't know, like that final episode just fucking, it's like a chef's kiss. It just hit so good. It hit so good. It hit really well when I first watched it, and then upon rewatching, I was like, fuck, man, this is a good finale. And it wasn't even like conclusive. It kind of just left things up in the air because there's so much more of a story to tell. We still have 2 more seasons to see where we go in the middle of the season, like the middle arc of this trilogy, and how it kind of all comes to a head for season 13. So I'm really, really excited. Veronica's got me hyped. She's got the Reds and Blues hyped for everything that they're going to be doing, and I hope they level up. I know the Reds and Blues are going to be training a lot of privates and a lot of rookies, but I wonder how much training they're going to go through as well, because they're essentially going to be leveling up and kind of just going through the ringer as well. So I'm looking forward to that. In terms of the Federalists, I have a lot of questions with these guys. Felix mentioned, so this planet was originally under UNSC jurisdiction, and then like I think they mentioned like after the war, they just forgot about it. Like they just forgot about Chorus, and then I think he said like someone else came in and took over, like, and started like running shit. I wonder if it's, and I know a lot of you guys are probably sick of hearing this by now, I wonder if Charon Industries is somehow involved in this. And this is where I have the biggest plot point, like theory crafted, like I'm connecting dots. I'm like that crazy guy in that one GIF picture that like is connecting like the threads, and like I really think I'm coming to a head with like this major theory of Malcolm Hargrove. So I don't know the origins of the Federalists. we're 12 seasons in now. Like, we're about to start season 12. We never got closure on Karan Industries. We never got closure on like what Malcolm Hargrove's been up to since the closure of Project Freelancer. And those were two major plot focused things that happened during Project Freelancer that we still haven't gotten answers to. And I feel like that is probably the most overlooked thing that will eventually come back and be some type of plot twist as season 12 or 13 carry on. But what really caught me when I rewatched this was the moment where Washington asks Felix about Locus's armor.
How was he able to cloak himself? Locus, he turned invisible. How?
The Federal Army's got all sorts of fancy stuff. I got my light shield off a dead soldier.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
It's just that I've never seen that kind of equipment outside of Project Freelancer.
Welcome to the future, Wash. Technology's incredible, and everyone uses it to kill each other.
Does that mean your guys have the same equipment?
I wish. The New Republic's barely getting by with what they can. You wouldn't happen to have any high-tech armor aboard that wreck, would you?
Plenty of armor, just nothing out of the ordinary.
So during my reaction, I was popping off because I was like, wait a minute, armor abilities? You need an AI to run an armor ability. Holy shit, maybe AI are coming back. But then I stopped and I rewatched that. Like when I rewatched season 11, I watched that scene and I had like this fucking Jimmy Neutron brain blast moment. Okay? So I'm going to ask a question and I'm going to answer that question because clearly you guys can't answer it for me. Does more than one armor of the same armor ability exist in the world? And I say this because Carolina said,
I intercepted a military transmission. It seems some low-level thugs have some armor and equipment that's way above their pay grade. Sounds like it might be some of the missing gear from a certain defunct military project we both know.
Is that right?
Think I'll go get it back. Hate to think about it being in the wrong hands. And with all that equipment, I could really use someone to help me run it. You seem uniquely qualified for the job.
I don't know.
I figure we can set some things right. And we help make wrong.
Are the Federalists who she's talking about? Because the Federalists have the same type of equipment. Washington even said it. They have the same type of equipment. The only equipment that Washington has ever seen this from has been Project Freelancer. And on top of that, Felix has his light armor shield that he even said he got off of a dead soldier. Now, the question that I have is that those armor abilities were given to Project Freelancer by the UNSC, right? Who oversees the transfer of military grade technology, armor and AI and all that stuff? Malcolm Hargrove, right? Well, before he was he was like the assistant to the oversight subcommittee chairperson back then, but now he's the oversight subcommittee chairperson. But because the UNSC is no longer a part of Chorus, like they don't have jurisdiction, they're not there anymore. How are the Federalists still have that technology? Unless my theory is that Malcolm Hargrove is also a part of Charon. He's like playing that double agent. He would be the one that would be able to give the Federalists this super secret high-tech armor. And another thing, the reason why I asked about the armor, I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm just popping off because this is all the shit that I've been thinking of. Another thing is, the reason I asked if there's more than one armor ability is because the only character that we've ever seen in this show who has had invisibility as an armor ability was Texas / the Meta when he stole it from her. The Meta died in season 8, right? Now, when Washington was going, he was Recovery 1, right? So when Washington was going around getting all of the, trying to secure all of the AI and cover up the mess of the freelancers, wasn't he there to recover their AI and or their armor abilities and return it to the UNSC, right? Wasn't that like his core objective to like recover all of this tech? So, for example, right, in season 8, when the Meta got like launched off of the cliff and fell into the water and drowned probably, the UNSC showed up afterwards, and that was when Washington faked his death. I wonder if they recovered the Meta's body, got all of the armor abilities back, And now the invisibility cloak that Locus is using was the invisibility that Tex previously had. Like, I wonder if that invisibility is the exact same one, but it was recovered by the UNSC, Malcolm Hargrove. But because he's theory right now, Malcolm Hargrove is also Charon Industries, and Charon Industries is controlling Chorus right now, like they're a part of the Federalists. I wonder if Malcolm now gave the armor ability to Locus to help him better win the war, or better win for, you know, the Federalist side of things as a mercenary for hire. And that's the theory. I have no fucking clue if I'm right or wrong. My track record somehow over the years has been Arnold came to the right conclusion, but he was wrong. Like, it's like Arnold came to the perfect like Arnold was right with the destination, but he was wrong in how he got there. I think that's how I came to the conclusion that that the director, that Church was the director, like Alpha was the AI of the director. I was like completely wrong in my logic behind it, but I still came to that same conclusion. That's the only thing I'm thinking about, because I don't really know if we've ever seen more than one armor ability, right? We've seen camouflage, we've seen reactive camouflage, we've seen bubble shield, the EMP blast. I can't think of most of them right now off the top of my head now. Like, I'm on the spot and I can't really think, but I don't think we've ever seen someone else with the same armor ability as someone from Project Freelancer is what I'm getting at. And so because he has invisibility, I was like, wait, is that the same one? The only way they would have gotten it is if they got it off of the meta, which the UNSC were there at the time when, during the aftermath, when Wash like faked his death, and they were like, oh, throw that capture unit into storage, we don't need it anymore. And then the new, you know, season 9 started. So I wonder, that's my big super 200 IQ galaxy brain play, like, theory for season 12. I really don't know other than that. And now that would also tie in to Carolina and Epsilon, because they were going after the people who had the military tech. And if Carolina in the secret in the end credit scene, Carolina is Control, and Control is what Locus answers to. So, and he answers to the Federalists. So the Federalists must have gotten like the tech that Carolina went after, and she managed to find Control. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all connected, I think. Either that or I'm fucking stupid and I'm just talking out my ass and you guys are like, Arnold, shut up. You have no idea what the fuck you're saying. You're wrong. Please stop. You're hurting my brain. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of popped off with that because one thing led to another. Because the first thing I was thinking of is, why the fuck is Carolina there? How did she get there? Now I'm wondering, now I guess we can get into season 12 stuff. I'm wondering if season 12 is going to give us the meanwhile perspective. Like, we now know all of the sequence of events that happened with the Reds and Blues during season 11. What we don't know is what Carolina has been doing this entire time to lead into that season 11 end credit scene. So I wonder now if season 12 will be like a back and forth. Like, meanwhile, the rookies are training. Essentially, I wonder if season 12 will be what I thought season 11 would be, which would be like a back and forth. Like, this is what the Reds and Blues are doing. This is what Epsilon and Carolina are doing. But since we got an entire season of just the Reds and Blues, we got Carolina teased at the end in the end credit scene. I wonder if season 12 will be gutsy enough to just focus on only Epsilon and Carolina, which I doubt. You know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking way they're going to do that. So I wonder, at the very least, I hope rather, at the very least, they give us that back and forth, because we need to understand how the fuck Carolina got there. Like, how the hell is she Control? Was she Control back when Locus killed that pilot? Or did it happen after the fact that she took over? Was she always Control? You know what I mean? Is she, like, doing her own thing now? Like, fuck the Reds and Blues? But I don't think it's fuck the Reds and Blues, because she also mentioned, like, keeping the Reds and Blues alive was, like, the right call to make. Because she knows, I think she understands that, like, Locus is definitely going to fucking eviscerate the Reds and Blues if he gets the chance. But she can mitigate that, and now she's on her way to meet them there. So, is Carolina going to face off against a mercenary now? Like, we already know she can handle, like, the freelancers. She's handled a bunch of them on her own in the past. including Texas. So I'm wondering a freelancer versus freelancer versus mercenary fight, if that's going to be something that'll come to fruition. I can only imagine. But yeah, that's I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about. Malcolm Hargrove, still waiting for you to show up. Karan Industries, still waiting for you to show up. I'm still wondering how all of this is going to come together for the Reds and Blues. Like, what's Carolina's purpose now that we know the motivating factor that's going to push the Reds and Blues? Like, even if the Reds and Blues don't have a general focus now, at the very least, it's, hey, we have to combat this army. We have to go after, we have to save our friends. What's Carolina's motivation in all of this now? How does this tie into Project Freelancer? I almost feel like it has to be Malcolm Hargrove at this point, because he directly combated the director, who is the father of Carolina, and the core being of the Alpha's memories. So I feel like I honestly think it has to be that. It has to be Malcolm. I just don't know how or when or if they're gonna do it, because we're going into 12 seasons now, and I'm still waiting for those reveals and for those moments to pay off. And I'm pretty sure there are some people that are just like, if I hear this kid say Malcolm Hargrove one more time, I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. If I hear him say Karan Industries, I'm unsubscribing. But yeah, I think that's generally everything that I wanted to mention, talk about regarding the season. It was, more than anything, a very entertaining return to form, I think, for Red versus Blue. I don't even want to say a return to form. I guess it kind of just took us back to the beginning. You know what I mean? It kind of turned the clock and gave us that perspective of, like, what would Red versus Blue look like in 2013? You know what I mean? I think that's when it came out, 2012, 2013. Because the show started, like, in, 2002, 2003, I think, something like that. So, like, it almost felt like a reimagined, a refined, remastered Blood Gulch experience with all of these characters that we know and love, with all of the history behind, the last 10 seasons, but in a really cool and interesting way, setting up for a new story. So you're getting it's kind of like a blend, the best of both worlds, essentially. The past meets the present meets the potential future. I think Miles, it's incredible how well Miles understood the characters, understood the show, and understood the beats that needed to be hit for this season to take off. Like I said, it felt more like a slow burn than anything, like a slow nostalgic burn that really started getting its build up with, the teases of who's this Locus guy, who's this Felix guy, who are these Federalists, what's this Chorus, what's this planet that we're on, and then realizing the Civil War and, Mercs for Hire, and now the rookies are the leaders. And I think that's like one of the best season finales I've ever seen. Like, it has me so excited to see how season 12 starts off. And I'm just wondering how season 12 is gonna fare in comparison. But yeah, I think that's everything else that I wanted to mention. Sorry if this feels more like a ramble than like a structured review / discussion like my other ones have been. I don't know. Like, I feel like because there's just a lot of nostalgia points in this season, and there's a lot of, like, I don't want to say dead moments, but just slow moments. You know what I mean? Like, we had, like, the Freckles banter for a couple of episodes. We had the Reds and Blues shenanigans for a couple of episodes. It wasn't really developing and building, at least, like, for example, like, Tucker's development was something that was in short bursts. It was like, do your training, do your squats, do your obstacle course, run your drills. Just try. They had that talk, with Washington and Caboose about, Epsilon and Carolina and, and all that other stuff. So a lot of these things were really just like ticking time bombs waiting to just burst and give you all that payoff towards the end, which I think ultimately it worked. I think season 11 is much more enjoyable as a binge experience versus like an episode to episode experience. I think my batch reactions were great for just that, reactions, but overall, I definitely enjoyed watching this all in one go, compared to what some of y'all went through back in the early days of like 1 3 to 5 minute episode per week for the next like 6 months. So I can't even imagine what y'all went through. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. I really hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts, my theories, expectations, everything else going into season 12. This is going to be the last thing that we discuss and jump into before getting into Chorus Trilogy, the second act with season 12. I believe I'm going to be watching episodes either 1, 2, and 3 or 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for those of you who know those episodes, look forward to that. I really hope you guys enjoy that. Again, I want to give a huge thank you to all of my subscribers, all of my viewers, all of my Patreon backers for your continuous, kindness, generosity, support of these videos, of my, Red versus Blue videos. Ruby's going to be coming back soon, gaming videos, and all that other stuff in between. I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing me ramble, hearing my thoughts of season 11, what I'm looking forward to for season 12, and everything else in between. And an extra special thank you goes to my Patreon backers in the seasonal maiden tier and higher, and that goes to AIMEE, Burgess, Armadillo, Blue Rat 138, Chase LAZRATION, Louis A. Sandoval, Luke Marshall, Ride the Lightning, Scott Porter, Shadow Thief, SUPERMONAMAN, The Disturbed Guy, Diesel75, Zach Feifal, Bungle Queen, Daniel Burns, Ezra Lee, Ian Dodd, Jacob EYER, Jamie Coleman, JUUBEARSKI, KIBA BODAWAY, Matthew TRAPP, Michael, and SCHNEE. Thank you guys all so much for the support. Thank you guys for enjoying and looking forward to these videos on a weekly basis. I really hope you enjoyed overall. Leave any of the thoughts you guys had on my thoughts, theories, speculations, predictions in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next week for the continuation of Red vs. Blue, the Chorus Trilogy with Season 12. Thanks, and take care.